Good morning, everyone. Hi, Debbie. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. Glad to
Good.
be here on this Thursday morning.
I know. So we have a few people on. There's quite a few more that should be popping on. We had a decent amount of registrations for this one, which was great because this is a really important topic that I think our members need to understand and learn about. So if this is your first Mixing It Up with MiRealSource, my name is Taylor Fedewa. I do our communications as well as our photography program here at the MLS. And then my co-host this month is Debbie Fajardo. She's our Director of Education. And I'm sure you've talked to her if you've attended any classes or, we're at one of the new welcome classes. So she's going to be joining me as well today. Normally my co-host is Colleen DeLang, but she had something come up. So Debbie is filling in for her. And I think she's going to be able to show you guys some helpful information as well that she's getting ready right now for you. So today's topic is data sharing, what you need to know, and why that's important to you, in case you guys needed some specific examples, breakdown of all of our partnerships that we have that are exclusive to us and our vendoring that we do. We're going to talk about that as well as have some demos to kind of lay that out for you. And then on the Mixing It Ups, if you've never attended one before, we have questions that we ask or like tasks that we ask of you, and then we give away prizes. So because my ring light is blinding my eyes. You see, I'm going to darken it just a little bit. I look over at my outline and I have a ring in my eye. So let me tone down the brightness a little bit. Okay. So because we're talking about data sharing in Michigan, our prizes are going to be Michigan themed gifts to the winners. So we thought that would be kind of fun. Ed said that it's loud and clear. Marilyn said, how is this different than Zoom? So Zoom is a meeting platform, but there's also a webinar platform. We do some classes in Zoom as well, but this is definitely webinar where it's a little more interactive. We don't need to see your camera. We have the capability to unmute you and to have you share your screen or a webcam, but Zoom does all the same things. We just host GoToWebinar for these Mixing It Ups. Just kind of how it started. And
one of my favorites about Zoom is the really cool backgrounds that I could put on there.
Yeah,
I could look like I'm having a meeting in my wine cellar, which I don't have.
Right. I see it's snowing though at your house, Debbie. It's not snowing
here. It's started coming down.
Yeah. Yep. I think it bypassed my area. So, all right. Well, let's dive in. I'm going to share my screen. And like I said, if you guys have anything to chime in, add questions, participate in the questions for prizes, please do it all in the questions part. Okay. So let me share my screen with you guys. All right, Debbie, are you seeing my screen?
Yes, ma'am. Lots of dots is what I'm seeing.
Yeah. So kind of the theme of this data sharing is dots. So we have lots of maps that explain where the coverage is based on all our data shares. You've maybe seen those in perhaps some classes or communications that have gone out, but dots is kind of our theme to really demonstrate all the coverage that you get with MiRealSource. So on today's Mixing It Up, the items are going to be the MiRealSource coverage that you get as a MiRealSource member, our data sharing partners and what that means, and kind of how they came about. Does data sharing work? And what does this mean to you guys? Some examples that we have, different types of data shares. So we can tell you that we data share with X, Y, and Z, and we data share over here too, and you have access here. But technically, what does that mean? And sometimes it might not fully click, but it is good to understand what's going on within the software so that you guys have this ease of use to be able to work throughout the whole state of Michigan. And then I'm going to talk about our vendor services and the growth that has come about with that. And then, of course, we're going to go into some prizes today. So to start, I am going to just kind of open up with a giveaway today. And the first person to get the answer right is going to win the prize. Now, if there's not an exact answer that's correct, it'll be the person that's closest to the answer that we ask. So the first question for a prize is, when did we start making data sharing efforts? When did MiRealSource start making data sharing efforts? What year or how long ago was it?
And here's a hint, it was not last year.
Yeah.
Actually, we got one coming in. I remember years ago, before I even came to MiRealSource, that I was working for the association back then. I think we were the Metropolitan Consolidated Association, as it was called. And I remember Dave DeReese and his team coming in and making the presentation to the board of directors about wanting to data share.
Yeah.
And so I've been with MiRealSource.
Don't give anything away.
Yeah, we've been around for a bit.
Yeah, don't give anything away. When did MiRealSource start making data sharing efforts? Debbie, are you able to see the questions coming in?
Yep.
Or the responses coming in? Because I have the PowerPoint pulled up, so I can't see.
Yep, I can see them.
Okay. All right. Any close ones or any correct ones?
Maryland's close.
Okay. All right. We'll give you guys a few more seconds to guess a year specifically, or the amount of years when we started making these efforts to data share.
I don't see anybody coming in as close as Maryland is as of yet.
Okay.
Let me know when you want to call it. We'll give it another 5 more seconds.
We'll call it.
All right, Maryland Nemi, good job.
What'd she say?
She had 5 years. And then,
she's the closest at 5 years?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right, Maryland, it's actually been 13 years that we have been making moves in data sharing and bringing data sharing to our.
Her last one came in. She corrected hers and she said 15 years with RealComp.
Oh yeah, right.
My screen down a little more. Yeah, after she thought about it, do the math.
She's a little closer in data sharing, but definitely not with them. So we have actually been data sharing for 13 years, or at least making efforts. Dave, our CEO, he was a board of director as well as a broker for many, many years. And when he came on in 2008, that was his first kind of goal as the new CEO to head the MLS in that direction from the board of directors, is to let's get some data sharing going on. Everybody's in their own little bubble, and agents are missing listings, and there's a lot of overlap, or how come this agent can't do business over here?
I remember one of Colleen's favorite stories is that she had to be members of 3 different MLSs. How expensive is that?
Yeah, and the ultimate goal from MiRealSource is to give MLS of choice, so that you agents are not having to belong to multiple MLSs just to get the data. You belong to the MLS that works well for you, right? You like the system, you like the education, you like the events that are going on, the third-party products that are provided to you, not data. The data is not being held hostage for you, where you have to belong to 3, 4, 5 different MLSs to be able to get the whole state. So, and it really will, instead of having one MLS, it's multiple MLSs working together, giving agents the option versus a full only one MLS in the whole state, right? So, which benefits agents in many ways, because when there's only one source to go to, that's not always going to be the best for the masses, right? So, Marilyn, good job. It was about actually 5 years ago that we really grew a lot of the data sharing, so that still is a really good guess. But your prize, can you see this, Debbie?
Oh, yes.
Yep. So to go with our Michigan theme, we're going to give you a Michigan premium soy candle. It's going to be citrus, raspberry, sandalwood blend. So this is a Michigan themed candle, but it's also made here in Michigan. So when we follow up with you after this, I will ask you, for a mailing address of where you would like this to go. So do you want it to go to your office, or do you just want it to be sent to your home? So you were the closest.
Actually, you could also type that in the.
So, yeah, I'll just reach out to you after and just, get your preferred mailing address, and then you will get this cute little candle. So good job. And now let's go back into that presentation. So right here is MiRealSource's coverage. Okay, so the Southeast Michigan coverage is what we have here. You can see a lot of blue dots sprinkled still throughout the state. Obviously very heavy directly north as well as in the Southeast Michigan area. But with that, we began doing a regional data share, and this started with vendoring, which I'm going to talk about vendoring here shortly, explain what that means to you guys, how that came about. But oh, it's got the transitions, I forgot to turn those off. So some of the regional data shares that we do work with include Bay County, Clare, Gladwin, East Central, Greater Shiawassee, Lenawee, Midland, there's MiRealSource, Saginaw, Southeast border, and the UP. So all of this now blue coverage grew throughout, starting from here to here, all because of these regional data shares that we put in place, where they're actually in our home system, a seamless search for you, and they came aboard because we started vendoring them on our platform. So with that vendoring relationship, it allowed us to bring their data right into our system so that our members can, not just be limited to this one area and not have to belong to multiple MLSs.
And if I put in there for 1 second too, one of the great things about having all these other MLSs on our platform is the fact that we don't have to do that data jump to bring it in from their system over to our system and then upload it. So you're not wasting all that kind of time waiting for the listings to come in. The second they're saved in the system, they're live in your database because it's all the same database.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point to mention. I didn't even think about mentioning that, is that there's no lag time, even though the lag time is still really good with some of the other data shares that we do. The fact that we don't have, so that lag time is gone. It's right in our system. You get hit with that right away in the Collab Center and all the places that you would have your clients set up as if it was exactly a MiRealSource listing, even though it was originally maybe listed in Saginaw. So another thing too that we have in our data sharing is the Great Lakes repository. Now, this was the first effort that Dave worked towards, building those relationships with other MLSs throughout the state. And then that brought out the vendoring and things like that. But the Great Lakes repository allowed for data to go into one bucket. And with that bucket, then, Debbie, I'm just going to turn this off. I'm sorry, guys.
It keeps jumping around on you.
Oh my gosh, it moves so fast. I don't know how she talks fast enough for this presentation. All right.
Yourself on track. Slides moving, let's go.
Okay. Jeez, I'm a fast talker, but okay. So the Great Lakes repository, like I said, was the first data share effort that MiRealSource worked towards, and that anybody that wanted to participate in this, all their data went into one bucket. And with that bucket, it got dispersed out to anybody who participated. So there's a lot of details in that, which I'll kind of explain. But the ones in the Great Lakes repository are Ann Arbor, Jackson, and RealComp. So you have the regional data shares where we vendor them, and they are right in our home system. Then there's the Great Lakes Repository. The Great Lakes Repository also comes into our home system, but it still works with that bucket. So with that bucket, there's a poll. So there's a data poll. And Dave, our CEO, actually describes it as like going to the bus stop, right? So you can be wanting to catch the bus to go to work, and you're there 5 minutes before the bus goes, but you're there, 1 minute after, then you miss that bus route and you have to wait that extra 15 minutes or 45 minutes until that same route comes through. So we tell everybody it can be anywhere between 15 minutes and an hour between when somebody puts that listing in either Ann Arbor, Jackson, or RealComp for it to be in our system, and vice versa. So it goes both ways. And that is different than the regional data share. So the regional data share is going to be instantaneous, as if it was a MiRealSource member putting that listing in. So that's really cool about MiRealSource, is that you get that as well as the bucket, where other places, they're all participating in the GLR. So there's always going to be that little bit of a lag. But honestly, compared to like what Colleen always says in some of these, is how far we've come technically in just even a few years. I mean, you didn't even know that, Dave also jokes, because he was a realtor broker, 30 years, for 30 years. He jokes that, he had to wait for the book to come out every week, and where we are now versus,
and I know
where we've come.
I know some of you remember that too.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
Well, okay, so when I first joined, when I moved to Michigan in 01, I started working for the Realtors Association, and it was the Macomb County. And their MLS, which is now MiRealSource, it was Macomb County. You step outside of that, you're someplace else. Okay, where do I find this listing?
Right. And that is one thing that really shocked me. I've worked for MiRealSource for 9 years, and I was in Ann Arbor. I went to school out in Ann Arbor. And when I was done with school, I had a couple different job prospects. And the one that I was also considering with MiRealSource was in the Ann Arbor area. And so I started kind of looking at houses just to get an idea. And I would have had no idea at the time, before working for MiRealSource, that if I hired a agent that at that moment, and I was kind of deciding, what I was looking for, I would have had no idea as a consumer that agent that belonged to Ann Arbor maybe had to belong to multiple MLSs to find something for me out in Macomb or Troy. And I would have been under contract with them. And then what if they didn't belong? And that data could have been missing. There might have been some, but that data could have been missing. So now that's not an issue. Depending on where you join, you get that coverage. But there's a lot of exclusive data shares that we offer too, that are just to MiRealSource. So we've broken down regional data shares, and that lumps into our vendoring, which I'll talk about, right? Great Lakes Repository and the difference there. The Northern Great Lakes Realtor MLS is another one that we brought on last year. This was a really exciting one that we were able to bring on. Now, this actually contains 3 MLSs within it, and that's the green dots that you're seeing there. And so many times at like the conventions that I went to and everything, this was one thing that a lot of realtors, when it was the statewide event, would say, I really would be able to, like to see data that's up north. Or we met some northern agents, and they mentioned stuff about being able to get coverage down here. So it was definitely a big disconnect for people, because a lot of Metro Detroiters want that cottage up north. And as a realtor, you have, you shouldn't just have the choice to do a referral, right? You make that decision. I want to do a referral to somebody I have up there for you, but at least you have the option now to move forward with business if you would like. So part of the Northern Great Lakes Realtor MLS includes Central Michigan, Northeast Michigan, and Traverse Area Association. So all that is also in Paragon. So some of the differences here, though, are it's a single sign-on. And we're going to talk about that and show you what that means here in a moment. So you have directly into MiRealSource as if they were MiRealSource member. You have the bucket with Great Lakes Repository, and then you have the SSO single sign-on with Northern Great Lakes. And then we have an exclusive data feed or a data feed directly with Greater Lansing and Bay County. So even though we don't vendor them, we still have a data share with them.
Bay County is one of our vendors.
Oh, okay. That was still new the end of last year, so I wasn't sure if we were working towards it. So the exclusive ones that we have, though, that you can't get with anybody else is Northern Great Lakes, Bay County, which is the newbie, as well as Claire Gladwin is a newbie. Upper Peninsula is a newbie. And then our MISRIC data share as well, which is huge. I mean, that just bumped up our coverage. We were at 92%, and then adding Bay and Claire and UP actually brought us up to 94% of the coverage in the state of Michigan, which
and I want to point out something on this one. I mean, I love those stats, Taylor. I mean, the amount of coverage that we have is amazing.
Yeah.
But if you guys actually look at the dots on that map, so I'm in St. Clair County, and you see purple, there's MISRIC listings in my neck of the woods. Like, seriously? Right. And hey, we do that too. We list on the west side of the state. I mean, how many listings did you miss out on because somebody else from far, far away listed it? Even Greater Lansing, they have a huge footprint and, list in our neck of the woods.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, here's a great example for me. I live out in Livingston County, which is a coverage point of Lansing. It could even be MISRIC, or it could be us or RealComp. So with that, when I moved out here, me doing a search, at the time, a lot of MISRIC could have been missing, as well as Lansing, because we weren't doing those data shares. And, I've thought about that, but as a client, they don't know this. And a marketing strategy for you as a MiRealSource member is you can explain this, explain this to them, that this is not just how it always works. And I have more data than anybody, than any other MLS for you, where you're not going to have anybody missing in this area between Lansing, MiRealSource, RealComp, MISRIC is all going to be there, at least for, this area. But that, goes across the board, whether you're in St. Clair County, you're in Macomb County, you're in, Oakland County, and you're a MiRealSource member. So these exclusive data shares, I think a lot of people get confused, which is why we really wanted to do this, is we were hammering data sharing for so long. But what does that mean? And what are the differences, right? Like, what do I get here? What do I get there? How do I access? And you might see these communications or these press releases going out saying, exciting news, we added Claire Gladwin. But what exactly does that mean, right? And maybe you even wonder, like, what is that coverage? So this map is really helpful because you actually see the color coordination, you can see where that coverage is, and you can see that overlap. So that leads me to the transactional side, right? Where there's going to be, questions of people like, well, I work in this bubble and that's what I do. Okay. I'm fine working in this area. And if I do anything else, I'm going to refer it out. Fine. That's your way of doing business. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But if you're like me, I don't like being told that I can't do something, or I don't like something else making that choice for me, right? So if I want to run business that way and that's working for me and I'm happy, great. But I want to do business for my girlfriend who her and her husband are looking for a house up north, and she doesn't want to deal with somebody else. And you know what? I don't mind working with her. It'll be fun. Her and I can go do a weekend away and we can look for a house up there for her. prior to that, I would have had to belong to that MLS, right? So a lot of people wonder, like, is this really working, right? The idea is this looks great and all in theory with the coverage and all these pretty little dots, but is it really working? The answer is heck yes, it's working, because there have been in the last 12 months, previous 12 months to when this was pulled, over 23,000 closed transactions. And then
that were cross MLS.
Across MLSs, yes. So if a listing was put in MLS A, it has been closed in another MLS in our system over 23,000 times. And that's just the one side, right? So if you were to do that two-sided, that's actually over 44,000 transaction sides are being done. So if you're not implementing this data sharing, you know, you're kind of losing out in a lot of listings that you could have access to or could be closing. And that total volume that has been closed in that last 12 months was over $4 billion in total volume. So just crazy, crazy. And you can see the list side for an agent, a sell side, and the total production. And this does include vacant land, multifamily, and commercial in there as well, not just residential. But wow, I mean, this slide was new to me when Colleen went through this with me. Colleen and Brian and Dave, this has really been their, I call it their puppy, for several years now. So she went through this presentation with me recently, and a lot of it I've talked about or put communications on about, but this slide to me was just like kind of the cherry on top that I didn't quite know at the time how effective this was, right? And another thing is, you know, comps. So even if you are going to work in your general area, you're not going to branch out, fine. But what happens if an agent in the neighboring MLS or a couple neighboring MLSs down or over lists a home, closes a home, and you miss that comp because the data share isn't going on? And that can, you know, lose you so much where it gets appraised and what, you know, and what you're willing to, what that loan is willing to cover. So not just being able to do business outside of your area, but also the comps are huge with that. So Debbie, is there anything that you want to chime in there?
I remember when we first started pulling in data to our CMA and labeling, oh, well, this one's from this MLS, this is from another MLS. Like we had 3 different MLSs in one CMA, and that was very eye-opening to see that everybody's missing so much information.
Yeah, and it's not even like data sharing with password exchange or things like that. Most of these data shares are so seamless that you might not even notice that they're not part of your home MLS. So when you do that search, when you automatically pull those, you auto-populate those comps into your CMA, you only see the MLS that it belongs to. I mean, you can look in the listing report, of course, but at the bottom of the CMA report of that comp. So when you are meeting with your client, you can say, look, oh, geez, getting a little crazy there. My light's so close. So you can say, look, talk with my hands in case you haven't noticed. Look, this could have been missed, and I have access to this here. And you are getting all of the information that we can possibly give you. So our goal is to give you 100%. Right now we're at 94%. So if you guys have any questions, we're going to go into kind of where you can find this, technically the different types for you, and then give away some more prizes here. But why don't we do a prize real quick before we go into actually kind of showing you how this works and talking about vendoring. Are there any questions coming through, Debbie?
Oh, just got one in. So example, if you are only member of Ann Arbor and you request a buyer, wait, I think might need my better glasses, my reading glasses. No, I'm not 25 anymore. It's crazy, I know. Okay, so if you're only a member of Ann Arbor and you represent a buyer on a listing from a member of MiRealSource, the sale in MiRealSource would say closed by outside agent instead of by so-and-so. Some of that is still a problem. So we see that all the time in tech support. Would you please change the selling agent on this one? And that's a daily occurrence, a couple of times a day, because those rosters don't always populate because they're actually two different. So it just let support know, and it will be corrected and the name will show.
Yeah. That's why the regional one is so nice, because everything's really playing nicely together. But yeah, so are they saying that when they pull those comps and it's coming, like they're members of Ann Arbor, if it's coming from another MLS, it comes in saying that? It doesn't necessarily say the title of MLS? Gotcha. Okay.
Right. Or it might not say who the closing agent is.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's, I mean, actually in HomeSnap, you can find that. So you always see who's closed in there too.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that's really nice too, that I did not touch on, is that this isn't just limited to Paragon. I mean, this expands to third-party products, from Showing Time to Cloud CMA to HomeSnap. So you don't have to just be limited there. It works with all of these third parties as well.
Oh, Mark has
except Northern Great Lakes, which we'll talk about how that works technically.
Mark has a great question for us, though. Does this data share cover the greater Petoskey area? Well, we're in talks with them. It does not. So we would love to data share with them. I know Colleen is our sales rep on talking to other MLSs, and she does. So, yeah,
that's been one that's tossed around, of the missing 6%. So they're lumped in there, we'll say. But yeah, so the handout that will be provided to you actually will list everything that you do get of all the MLSs, something that you could maybe use, so that there's really specific examples of, I have access here, I have access there. Okay, so let's do a giveaway before I go into vendoring and you do your demo, Deb. So giveaway number 2 is going to be this adorable bamboo Michigan cutting board. I know I would like this.
That is very nice.
Yeah.
I love seeing those pieces that have the 2-piece for Michigan, that you can buy the UP as well. There's a hole so you can hang it too. That's nice.
Yeah, really cute. Pull it down when you need it. So this prize will be given to the first subscriber to our YouTube channel. So if you go to youtube.com/MiRealSource Media, you can hit the subscribe button. We'll have the notifications pulled up. It'll actually timestamp it. So the first person to actually subscribe, where we see it on our end, will win this beautiful bamboo cutting board.
Yep, I know some of you have already subscribed. You know the value of all the videos we produce. And even Colleen is training Claire Gladwin right now in those training videos. It's a live demonstration, but we also add them to our YouTube channel. All of our quick tips, all of our classes that we've done since the pandemic started.
Yeah, let me actually pull that up for everybody real quick.
Good.
So, are you seeing YouTube right here?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay, so this is what Debbie was talking about. There should be a subscribe button. I'm logged into our YouTube, but there should be a subscribe button right here for you to click on. I'll get the notification up here when I see the first person, but these playlists right here. So we are going to be doing, this is new. There hasn't been anything going out about it yet, but you'll see something. We actually have a new series called Real Stats with MiRealSource, where we have a host video just kind of summarizing what's going on in the market each month, and actually applying it to real world, not just shooting numbers at you. Right? Recorded webinars that we've done with our vendor clients. So this is really nice because it is everything you need to know about our products, and from the ground up, basically. There's a lot of detail in there. You can watch these. We have a whole get to know the MiRealSource staff series in here. Clips from our podcast, which you can find our podcast on yourrealsource.info. So if you're curious, but you don't want to listen to a full-blown podcast until you can actually kind of hear a snippet of it, of what each person is talking about. Well, there's Debbie. Debbie's actually featured on the podcast. There's me. We have a lot of the staff. We have other people influential in the industry talking about
a skinny dip
was created, and
Let me go back.
that
Okay.
they mandated is a requirement.
So little clips from our podcast. You can decide which ones you want to listen to. Quick tip series. This is something that Debbie's been doing. That's really nice. So if you do not subscribe already to MiRealSource, please do so, as well as if you want to get that prize. We'll be watching out for those, and then the first one that comes through will get the cutting board.
And then so Taylor is on the playlist page right there. If you see the tabs right across under MiRealSource Media, where she's pointing at right now, they've all been organized by playlist to make it easier to find what you need. Also, in the Monday morning education corner, I also have a list of all the playlists that are in there with a link to each of the playlists. So if you're looking for CMAs or help for a CMA, just click on the CMA link and it'll take you right to the folder that has all of the CMA quick tips in there. So there's full webinars, there's hour-long webinars, there's quick tips, there's short stuff. So whatever you like, it's in there for you.
Yeah, and if this is your first Mixing It Up, or you've only attended a couple of them, we actually have all 24 on here for you to watch. So, which we've had a lot of different topics and guests and things like that. So, all right, so I'm going to be watching for that, Debbie, and then you can take over and show, let me actually explain some of these data shares real quick with you first, visually. So this is going to be a handout that you receive. Are you seeing the handout?
Yes.
Okay. So this will be a handout that you receive that really breaks down the types of MiRealSource data sharing technically, so that you know. And then this is something Debbie is going to demonstrate, so that we're just not telling you, we'll actually show you. So there's the regional data share, which you saw on the map with all the ones that we've brought onto our home system and vendor. There's the SSO. So the SSO and the Great Lakes Repository. So with the regional data share, this is that direct type of data feed where they're brought on. This includes 8 other MLSs in addition to MiRealSource's data. So this type of data share allows MiRealSource to pull directly into Paragon, but the vendored ones are already right on Paragon. So it's all properly formatted. It's easy operation from day-to-day business from your home MLS. You don't even really have to think about it. Then there's the SSO, the single sign-on. So this will be one of the things demonstrated, where you go into another Paragon system without having to know a login or password, but it's still you, it's still tracking you. You're not doing password sharing or anything like that. You can set up your clients in there if you want to use Northern Great Lakes Realtor MLS. They're the only one that is an SSO. So this allows MiRealSource members access data from Paragon, but through the resources tab, and automatically signs you into their version of Paragon. So it may look slightly different, but it's still Paragon. It's still, you know, going to be very familiar to you. You can set up your clients to do searches in Collaboration Center. You can set up your profile. It's just an extra click, and it is going to only include that Northern Great Lakes Realtor MLS. Then there's the Great Lakes Repository, which is that bucket. So the Great Lakes Repository type of data sharing was MiRealSource's first and very successful data sharing operation that we did. So this is all the participating MLSs, and what's nice about this is that it was standardized. This set a standardized format between all these participating people or MLSs of labeling, right, of the data fields, so that everybody worked together of the main important data fields so that they were titled and labeled the same. There was an actual standard so that everybody could talk to each other, as well as third-party programs as well. Just a little recap that you'll see in this handout is that you as a MiRealSource member receive more data than any agent in the state, as well as very seamlessly too, which is really nice because a lot of times you can be jumping around, logging in, there's password sharing options, stuff like that. Our leadership, especially Colleen, Dave, and Brian, are always looking for more innovative ways to bring everyone together. So this isn't always just data. This is, you know, working together, building those relationships, understanding the different systems and how they talk to each other, the different types of data shares, kind of just getting really innovative in the way that we work together without making it one MLS, where you have to just belong to one MLS and it's an end all be all for there. All right, Deb, I'm going to let you take over now
All right, dear.
to really demonstrate all of these types.
Me and show my screen 2. I want to do part of my screen here. Okay, so you guys should be seeing my Paragon. I'm going to bring it on over to here so I can see it in front of me. All right, so this is I brought up a search previously, so I wanted to take a peek at that. Open it a little. What I did is I'm going to show you what I'm showing you. I'm going to show you how I did it. So one thing I did on my screen here, I just customized it and added in originating MLS so you guys could actually see where this information is coming from. So you'll see here is a Greater Lansing Association of Realtors. And I pulled down, I wanted to make sure, I just pulled classes, Mason, Oceana, it's over on the west side of the state. So let me show you where these are on the map. I'm going to click my green reports button on the right and go to that Google map. And then you'll see where these listings are on the map. Look at that. You have information everywhere. So those are the Greater Lansing listings. And I keep mine in a hybrid view. That's why you can see both the street names and the aerial view. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my criteria. You guys know how to manipulate or maneuver through your searching from the criteria, the mapping, and then going into your reports. So all I did was select residential. I wanted it all active. I just kept it nice and simple. I put in a price range just to reduce my little bit. Now, if you guys haven't seen the secondary criteria, usually this container is closed. So by this little arrow on the right, so this usually looks like the bottom of your search. So I went down in my secondary criteria by simply tapping on the down arrow and scrolling down. There is actually a line item in here. It's called originating MLS. So if I wanted to see from there, it's never a good way to search to find things because that would be like an old way of finding listings. So I just wanted to pull up a couple of examples for this particular listing. So as I hit search, you see that they are all right here within your MLS. You don't have to go other places. So it's all right here. You simply tap on your MLS number, open up your listings, and ta-da, there they are. Now, the other one that Taylor's been talking about is Great Lakes MLS. They also call it NGLAR. That can be found up in resources. Why? Because they are not sharing cooperation or compensation. So at the very top is the Northern Great Lakes data share. And here it is, look, I click once, and I wait for the system to do its thing. Look at that. Oh, it's just like us. There's a new login screen. Great. I'm going to mark that as red. Thank you. Oh, and I have an expiring notification. So I will get to that in a minute, because I actually have a contact set up in here on searches as well. The only thing I want to show you on this big page is this in red. That's the one that says, hey, look, we're not sharing cooperation or compensation for you. If you want to show a listing, you got to call. That's still old school. You got to call. And if you want to get paid on a listing, you need to ask for that in writing before you show that property. Now you'll see this looks exactly like our Paragon, but there are nuances. They got a couple options here. Their searching is set up just a little bit different. So they have single family. Okay, ours is, we have a couple of different titles, but you simply click, put in your criteria, and your reports come right up. You may have a couple of different options that are a little different than theirs, but it still has the same look and feel of your home Paragon. And I colored this one orange in my preferences wizard to make sure I knew if I was working in both systems, I knew at a glance. The big orange one is for the Northern Great Lakes, and plus they have their logo up here.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Just so I mean, the homepage is different, of course, but just so you don't, forget and be like, where did this go? I thought it was under resources, because it's under resources in MiRealSource's Paragon, right? Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So, okay.
All right. Was there
Cool.
anything else you guys wanted to see in here? Okay, and back to you.
Change presenter. That would be me. Okay. All right, so we talked about the transactional sides.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
obviously all the other stuff I knew, but the explanation of this I was really excited to see. So
And
now,
if our members don't know, each one of those dots does represent a listing over, I want to say it was a 2-year time period. Well, that's what we refer to them as dots.
12 months.
Oh, this is a 12-month run. You're right.
Yeah, previous 12 months. So, I mean, that's just amazing. I think when we did this, like last year, we had it over 2 years. But with all the new data shares rolled out the last like year and a half, it's just, it's even more effective to know that this has happened in just 12 months, right? So let me go in.
Crazy Michigan weather. It was snowing crazy a while ago. Now it's sun shining.
There you go. Gotta love it. Some of the vendor MLSs that we recently brought on board are Claire Gladwin, Board of Realtors, and the Upper Peninsula Association of Realtors, which is really cool. I was excited to see that one, honestly. That one was, you can kind of forget, and it's like, oh, nope, that's still part, we want to be able to see that. It's not just the lower part of Michigan. So now, if everybody we are providing vendored services to, a part of the regional data share, except for Midland, is Bay County Realtor Association, Claire Gladwin Board of Realtors, East Central Association of Realtors, Greater Shiawassee Association of Realtors, Lenawee County Association of Realtors, Saginaw Board of Realtors, Southeast Michigan Board of Border Association of Realtors, that one threw me off, and then Upper Peninsula Association of Realtors. So we talked about the regional data share and how that is just basically like as if you were a MiRealSource member putting in that listing, even though they belong to a different MLS. So it's instant. It's not like the bucket where it has to be pulled within 15 minutes to an hour. So why do we do this? Well, this kind of started with that standardization for the GLR back, 12 years ago, roughly, working towards that of, working together and how can we share so that my members can see this and your members can see that. And there's a couple different versions of MLS systems out there. And of course, we're going to say that we think Paragon is the best one from the customization, the autonomy that's available, things like that we can do. It's very visually pleasing. And in addition to all the integrations that we're able to do with Paragon as well, a lot of other MLSs saw the potential of Paragon. So with that and creating standardization, the novel idea of vendoring came about, and that brought on the data, easy data sharing, but also better data sharing, standardized real estate data fields. They can actually talk to each other. They can work with third parties seamlessly. That's huge, sending those feeds. So it's kind of just more plug and play. It's additional MiRealSource revenue. And with that, we are able to have many exclusive data shares, and it puts us in a better position for software negotiations due to having larger numbers. So therefore we can keep our numbers lower or keep our prices lower and provide even better products and tools, because we actually are working with greater numbers. So when you are negotiating with software companies and all these third parties that we work with, there is value in size, right? So this builds relationships as well. So we do have that greater influence throughout the industry with change. So if there's a demand from our board of directors, because they're brokers, we're a broker MLS, or we hear things from agents, we have that influence because of that. There's power in numbers, right? So the state of data sharing currently, how it works is kind of similar to the bucket in a way, but we're the bucket. So that vendoring with the data share. So here's MLS XYZ, here's another one that is ABC, any of these ones, Greater Shiawassee, East Central. Everybody is one of these buckets. And with that, they put their data into the Paragon platform that we're all using and cooperating with, and then they're able to pull ours and vice versa. So there's that partnership, if you will, where everybody is cooperating and working together here. So, these were different presentations. So got the transitions back on.
And Ed was asking about all the different types of products that we have that are third-party sites, or not our sites, the third-party products that we have, the Cloud CMA, HomeSnap, and showing time too. Don't forget, that is a huge one. Being able to schedule a showing on another MLSs.
Yeah.
And I remember once upon a time when the showing time, people were really put out the fact that they had to make a call to schedule a showing. Old school.
Yeah, exactly. So, and also Collaboration Center, even though that is built in within Paragon, that's huge, because you want to set up that search, you can do that. And it's just going to be instantaneous as if it was a MiRealSource listing, which is really nice, because then your clients are going to be the first to see it as a new listing alert if you set somebody up as a either a buyer or a seller in Collaboration Center for Paragons. This was the last slide. So we talked about the third parties, showed the different examples and different types. So yeah, we covered everything. The last question for a prize is going to be, if you want it, the cutting board or the candle, it's up to you. But the question, first person to put the right answer in the questions section, how many times can I say questions? Is going to be, who is the MLS or association that we have a single sign-on with? We talked about this.
Oh, first up, Maryland.
Maryland again.
Very good, guys. And Rhonda's got it. All right, everybody's got it.
Okay, good. I would hope so. All right.
See, Maryland took the shortcut and did the acronym. That's why she got there first. Ed and Rhonda spelled it out.
Okay,
And
so
Ed,
Rhonda and Maryland, then we'll say, since they seem to.
Excellent.
Okay.
Actually, it was Ed that was second. It was Marilyn and Ed.
Okay. All right. So if you guys have any further questions about this, it's definitely something we cover a little bit in each class, just not as detailed as what Colleen has put together in this presentation and what I just delivered. But yeah, any questions, you're so welcome to ask us, and we can direct you to the right person and go from there. But I hope you guys were able to take a lot away from this. I'm going to attach the map right now. I just noticed the handout that I did not include the maps, but it does have the definitions of the different types of data share so that you have that reminder. And then the maps will be attached for you to use, you know, for your own self, but also if that's something that you would want to share and show with a client. Okay.
And one of the things that I hope we stress today, that we were out at a mixer once upon a time and we were talking about data sharing, and somebody who was, you know, a member of another MLS, he's like, oh, well, you guys are data, so it's all the same stuff now, right? I'm like,
yeah,
no.
I mean, I think that that's kind of the confusion that we wanted to clear up, is that everybody thinks that everybody has everything the same.
Yeah.
You know, there's obviously a lot that overlaps and is shared, but there's also a lot of exclusive data to MiRealSource members. And it's also, you know, very important for you to understand how it works so that you're not confused about, okay, there's a lag here, but there isn't a lag here, or how come I can get it pulled into my collab center here, but this up, you know, Northern Great Lakes, I can't. So really breaking it down is only going to, you know, knowledge is power. So it was time, you know, we just brought so many on board lately that it was really time to analyze this for everybody and give you guys that knowledge. Okay, well, that's all I have for you guys today. Let me do that attachment real quick. You can stay on so you can do that. Download that and those attachments. And then I wouldn't be doing my job if I did not plug a few other things while I have you guys on. We talked about our YouTube channel, of course, so be sure to subscribe to that, as well as we will have another Mixin' It Up next month. Next month, we're going to have a professional cleaning company that works with realtors specifically for a lot of different services, from COVID things going on to, you know, you have a client where their parents maybe passed away and they need that organization for estate sales and things like that. She just has a lot of different services that she's going to talk about, and she's going to be our guest next month, the first Thursday of the month. I think it's actually April 1st is the date. So be sure to be on the lookout for that to register, as well as this month's birthday bash. So we were doing birthday bashes every month where we have an event with a game or something going on. And then
Hey, Taylor,
yeah.
What's the birthday for?
Oh, 100 year. We're 100 years old this year.
100.
So, yeah, we are 100 years old this year. So every month we're doing a different birthday online party theme with some giveaways as well, some swag, some MiRealSource swag. Yeah, hope to see you there. And I just attached.
Next week is Taylor's photo class next week.
Yeah, yeah. So we just
talk about classes.
Yeah, let's talk about classes. So we just you can go ahead and do that, Debbie, if you want.
So Tuesday, actually next Tuesday, we have the Digital Forms 101, just a nice, simple, straightforward 1-hour program. Wednesday, the Roadmap to Success continues. And Thursday, Miss Taylor is doing her newly revised photos class. This is one of 2. This is going to be via Zoom, so everybody can be interactive, learning, teaching, talking, asking every question in the book. Sorry, Taylor. I just told him to go for it. Yeah.
But this is part 2, though. I just want to, you know,
that's part 2. Right.
This is part 2. You have to attend part 1 to attend part 2. So there's going to be more of those classes as well, you know, 1 and 2, so you can get into another 1 before taking 2, because 2, you have to have attended 1 to take 2. not just because we make it a rule, but because you have homework and tasks and stuff, and it's definitely critiques and way more intimate with like a meeting style versus a webinar style. So that's new, as well as a whole new revamped a roadmap to success program. So we got a lot going on. So just make sure you check out the communications, attend all these events as long as you can, and we'll just keep them coming, right? All right, we'll download those handouts. I'm gonna close out in just a minute, so I give you guys some time to download the handouts, and have a wonderful rest of your week. Thanks for joining, Deb.
Thank you, Taylor.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.